Hey, what's up, guys? Bobby Roast Beef here with another episode of the 10-Second Podcast. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about this week, guys, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. This week, what I've got for you is we're going to have a conversation about team names. There was an incident recently, and we're going to talk about that and talk about the kind of like what the deal is with your team name. I'm going to give my feedback on some of these team names. I also have a look back at the last week of all kinds of good stuff at Speed Quizzing Smartphone Trivia. Plus, let's see, I've got some lists of my favorite questions, all kinds of good stuff. And I have a theory about a specific table at a very specific establishment that I think you're going to want to hear about. I don't know. I can't scientifically prove it, but it's something I've taken notice of, and I think you'll be interested on my feedback. Guys, don't go too far. 10-Second Podcast is starting up right after this. Oh my goodness, guys. We have a great show for you this week. Last week's show has been getting amazing feedback from a lot of you guys. I appreciate you for listening. And, I definitely want your feedback. Now, of course, this would be the part in the show where I would be introducing a guest co-host if we had one. And that guest co-host should be you. If you're listening to this show, especially if you're a regular trivia player, and especially if you have not already been on like one of my trivia-based podcasts previously, get in touch with me. Shoot me a DM on either Instagram or Facebook, and we can schedule a slot and just kind of have you on the show. Really, I'm not looking to interrogate or, have like a formal interview. It's just going to be a casual conversation. We'll talk a little bit about trivia. Absolutely. We'll talk about your experiences and stuff, but we'll talk about any other kind of topic that you want. And I love to dive into pop culture specifically, because I find that pop culture is the category that in a non-threatening kind of way, just it divides in a good way. Folks carry a lot of really high opinions here, but at the end of the day, it's something really kind of casual to have a conversation of. So I think it'll be a whole lot of fun. If you want to get involved, just, get in contact with me. Contact info is in the show notes, but you can always just shoot me a DM on Instagram or a message on Facebook. I'd be glad to set this stuff up. Both accounts are just Bobby Roast Beef. Actually, my Facebook is DJ Bobby Roast Beef. But so that's, if we had a guest host right here, we'd be getting to know somebody and all that stuff. But let's recap last week's entire week of trivia. Last week's list of shows was fantastic. It was a full week, Monday through Friday. Actually, no, I take that back. I think last week, no, I'm confused. I'm an absolute mess. It's not Monday through Friday. It was Monday through Friday. I'm so confused with that trip to Vegas messed me up. But last week we had events Monday through Friday, and it was fantastic. In fact, on Monday's event, I had a good conversation with one of the regular teams that's over there. We talked about music rounds, and I have a list of different rounds that people really want me to go ahead and launch. And they had voiced this previously. The team is known as Shark Coochies, and they wanted me to do a round on boy bands. They made this suggestion quite a while ago, and I feel like at the time, I think I had just done a boy band round like a few months prior, and I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do with it. I think this time I'm going to dial in more to the 90s and 2000s boy bands and focus on that. I know some folks are like, oh, what about the Beatles and this and that? No, we'll get there, but I got to be able to kind of dive in. And I also don't think I've ever done a boy band round where it was named that tune. I think it was named the artist. So this time we're going to be going with song titles, and my plan is to throw out some deep cuts in there. Some of the filler. Can you believe that boy bands have filler? They definitely have filler. All filler, no killer. So we're going to be doing that. That's happening next week. We have this conversation, and I said, oh yeah, I'll do that soon. And one of the couples had chimed in. They're like, we're actually going to be out of town for our anniversary next week. So could we do it 2 weeks from now? And that's exactly what's going on. So next week's round is going to be boy bands. Should be very interesting. Going to have a whole lot of fun with it. I'm stoked. But later on this summer, like I mentioned last week in last week's show, I'm doing a Latin night. I'm doing an 80s hair metal night, like a glam rock night. All kinds of good stuff that I've got lined up just for you. 90s hip hop we're way overdue on. We're going to make that happen. All week this week I've been doing like a greatest hits where I go through and each day I just kind of randomly select a round that I've done previously, kind of mix up the order of those songs so there's a little bit of freshness there. And generally I'm trying to pick the ones that have like either a really friendly theme or stuff that just everybody knows, and it's a whole lot of fun. Monday, actually, we did this last Monday at Rumble Seat for Game 7 of the Celtics. Anybody see that? I'm so glad I got out of there before I did. Wow, what a whiff. Yeesh. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about basketball. I am going to tell you guys that it was an interesting kind of game on Monday. We got pushed back into the Rumble Seats banquet room, and it was a totally different staff than we normally have on. I understand that because of the holiday. I'm sure folks took the weekend off and extended that into Monday because of Memorial Day. So I get it that we had a different kind of staff, and I want to go ahead and just apologize for the chaos that was going on in there. I mean, it was totally out of my control. I tried to do the best that I could with it, but I really do feel for you guys that, did not get the typical service that you would expect. So I apologize for that. That sucks, and I hope that things will be better moving forward. As far as that night goes, we did television themes, and it was a blast. And the first song, the very first one, was "Who's the Boss?" And one of our teams had buzzed in immediately, and the team name was Queef Fart, which I appreciate. That is he funny as hell. Queef Fart had buzzed in and explained that it was Tony Danza was in it, but just couldn't get it. I was like, yeah, Tony Danza was in a couple of shows, but what one was that theme song to? And it was "Who's the Boss." We had a good stumper right off the bat. People forget about "Who's the Boss," and I have to think that that Tony Danza's his reaction to that would be this.
It's the kind of guy I am.
You guys remember that. I mock that all the time. Let's talk next up about some of the other highlights that have been going on. This last week, I had an amazing question pop up, and this is why I love using the provided content from speed quizzing versus writing my own stuff, because I when I read, peeling back the beef curtain a little bit, let me explain how this works. These questions come in and I choose to basically only proofread the first few questions of the very first round. Everything else is a surprise to me. And I like it that way because I just want those first few questions to know if I'm going to have a word or something, or to know the direction of the categories the way we're starting. If it's coming in hot with something that's a little bit, 18 plus, or maybe there's a word that I'm going to destroy the pronunciation of. I actually do my homework for the first couple to figure that out. Later in the game, and very soon after those first few questions, I want to be surprised, because when I hit that next question button, we move on to that next question. I want you guys, the players, to get that reaction that I have, where I'm asking you, or I'm going through this list and I'm reading the question, and there might be something funny on hand, and you get that little chuckle from me. Maybe I'll start reading it and stop and give it a little laugh. But this is one of those questions, and the question was a picture question. And by all accounts, I swear to you up and down, this picture, in fact, I think I might make it the background, the cover art for this. So if you're looking at this, that's what this picture was. So it was, by all accounts, this picture looked like it was a handful of brownies on like a counter. Just a couple of brownies, like little cubes or squares of like what looked like brownies, truthfully. And his question was, although it does look like brownies, what mammals poop is this? And I believe this was on Friday's game, and it was a wombat. It was wombat poop, which tells me if you have a plan to take a trip to Australia,
watch out, because it could get bad for you. Decisions might get made, and you don't want to live with it.
So I thought that was very humorous. I had a good laugh with it. That was one question that kind of stuck out to me. I was like, oh, wow, this is freaking good. So I'm going to try and do that with the artwork and make that the cover art for this episode. Also, I want to talk a little bit about the Hendos.
Ooh.
a hush fell over the crowd. No, specifically Mr. Hendo, and I've noted this before. I figured I would just it's something worth talking about. I think that Mr. Hendo has a tell. I think he does. When he has a question and it's like dead on, he always seems to like turn to look wherever I am, take his glasses off, and then say what the answer is. And I feel like, I don't know if it's a confidence tell necessarily or what it is, but I think he's got a tell. I think it's when he's really confident with an answer. And he reminds me of, what's that dude? Horatio from I think it's CSI that he's from. Always just constantly taking off his sunglasses for everything. Answers a question, sunglasses come off. And that's kind of what it reminds you of. I thought it was humorous. We had a team last week that kind of stuck out to me, that was very memorable. This team called the Chickens. They played at Craft 32 last week, and they had, man, it was so good. They signed in late in the game. They signed in round 2. And last week I was doing all general knowledge for the buzz-in round, and they buzzed in, and it wasn't like an accident. No, actually, I take that back. I think it was a sheer accidental buzz-in. Like they didn't grasp the directions.
Despite the fact that I just went through the instructions before we started.
They didn't grasp that. It's okay. It's fine. They were testing their buzzer, as we like to call it. I had then called on them and had a little bit of fun with them, and they were great sports about it. But what was funny about the Chickens is that after the game, I was talking with them, and one of them said, I swear, and she points to one of the other girls on the team. She goes, I swear, she was getting all the questions before we connected. I hear that a million times. Like, oh, yeah, 4 or 5 in a row. She got them all right, or they got them all right, or he was killing it before we signed in. That's just like the phenomenon of trivia night. Like once you get, into the game, it's like immediately your brain just leaks out of your ear. And like, I don't know. Maybe it's the pressure. I don't know what it is. Another thing I want to talk about is something called the Ruckus. Bobby Roast Beef is bringing
the Ruckus.
No, I'm not going to start throwing hands at trivia. No, a ruckus is a new style of router that will be being used in more extreme situations. So I've got a couple of venues that have had some technical difficulties with teams being able to get connected. And one other thing with the ruckus that's very nice is that it creates what's known as like a mesh network, where I could eventually down the line purchase multiples of these and create a wireless mesh network that all operates on the same Wi-Fi network name. So wherever you are, it just connects you to the strongest or the best potential connection. And this is going to work great for especially outdoor stuff like over at Platform when we're there all summer long. So I'm working on getting that together. The reason why you haven't seen it yet is that I just need to build some confidence. There is an extra step to connect to this. And having almost 4,000 games under my belt of doing this and knowing some of the,
we'll politely call it challenges,
that some people have when it comes to the 3 simple steps to get connected, adding a 4th step there of having a PIN number, it's just going to be it's going to be a little additional step. And the issue that I have is that I need confidence that that PIN number won't change. So I set up my stuff, and I just want to make sure that the port number doesn't change or anything. This is stuff that's probably does not matter to anybody, but I don't want that PIN number to change. I just need some confidence that it's going to maintain and stay the same. When we're using a live screen, it makes life much easier because there is an automatic screen that will pop up displaying that PIN number. So if it were to change, it would be on screen, and you can just go ahead and make the adjustment. But for the other hosts that have started using this, especially the ones in the UK, it does seem to make things a little bit easier in those tricky sort of venues with, especially dealing with large groups. That's a big one too. I mean, we start getting north of like 40 teams, 50 teams, and it gets to be a bit much. I had another idea. There was another route I could have taken, but to tell you the truth, I think the mesh network is the way to go. So we will be working on that through the summer and getting it together. I'm hoping that you folks are all going to see this at Platform and probably at Craft 32 as well, very, very soon. Craft 32 might get an earlier launch simply because we have a live screen there. That might make things a little bit easier, but it'll be at Platform and functioning. In fact, if it works well and is a solid setup, I'm going to be looking into a second unit to set up to extend so that the play area over a platform. I'm sorry, not even a platform. It's at the deck. When we're outside at the deck, it's the bar that's over at the deck that the connectivity is very, very tricky. So there's a couple of challenges over at the deck. The primary one being power. There's only so many places where I can plug things in, and I have to run cables to do a lot of different stuff. So it makes it very, very tricky. We'll get it together. It'll be good. So we got a good one coming up. Next thing I want to talk about is this, and I've talked about Drinko in the past at length. We had a Drinko drink this week that just stuck out to me, and it happened at Platform Sports Bar. So it was actually pretty cool on Thursday night, and they decided to just move trivia from the deck inside at Platform. So we were inside. We had a good 20, 25 teams, something like that. It was great. It was a great night, busy, and we had a Drinko drink. And what spun on the wheel was salad dressing, and salad dressing is an interesting spot on the wheel because there is a lot of interpretation. I say this, it could be a single salad dressing or it could be all of them. And also like things that you would put on a salad that might not technically fall under a bottled salad dressing, that factors too. So that's what we had here. So the salad dressing they used was lemon juice. A lot of people will use lemon on a salad, a little bit of oil. Yeah, sure, why not? So we had lemon juice, we had hot sauce, and then we had milk. And this was rough. There was a lot of lemon juice in there. This curdled something fierce. And Tony was behind the bar over there, put this together, and he said, I think this is my finest work. Now, I forget the team name that had done this because it's been 6 days. So I forgot the team name who had done this, but it was a couple. And she had taken the drink and was all excited. She's like, oh, I'm doing this. She's like, yeah, it'll give me an extra bonus of 25 points. I'm doing this. And she goes to start drinking it. She gets about two, maybe a sip and a half in, puts it down, and then runs for the bathroom. And she says that she did that just because she needed to spit it out. It was so bad. So hubby jumps in, and without missing a beat, he takes that drink and he just slams it down as fast as the bottom of that glass was facing the ceiling. It was gone. I don't know how he did it. I don't want to know what happened afterwards. But man, talk about coming in clutch. So he got that 25-point bonus. That is great. And it paid off. I mean, they did pretty well. I don't believe they didn't place up at the top, but they did do pretty well. And it's, hey, it do be like that sometimes. You gotta do the Drinko drink to stay in it. So he stepped in for the win, got those extra points, and that was awesome. Very, very cool. And then lastly, before we jump into the hot topic, I guess, in our next segment, which is the hot topic has to do with team names in a situation that popped up that just was mind blowing to me. So this next situation has to do with a specific table at a very specific establishment. This establishment is Nathan Bill's. Nathan Bill's, I think, has a lucky table. I know what you're thinking, Bobby. That's not a thing. It doesn't exist. Luck is a construct of humans, and it doesn't exist. But hear me out. The table at Nathan Bill's I'm talking to is the one that is directly in front of the ATM machine and the portable cell phone charging batteries that you can rent. If you've played at Nathan Bill's, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not too far from where I'm set up. It's directly out in front of me, but it's a big table. It's an 8-seater. I think this is a lucky table, and this is why. So last week, we had a team come in, and they're brand new, had never played before, and it was tough. Like, it was really, really tough for them. They were grinding rounds 1, round 2. We got into round 3, and you guys know the round of redemption is a way for you to get back in the game if maybe you had squandered some points. Round number 2 can change things. 100% it can. Now, what was interesting about this was they got a fast track, either question 15 or 20. I want to say maybe it might have been 20. Man, I have to take a look at the report to know for sure, but they got a fast track in the second half of the event, of the second half of the game, and they ended up winning the game. off of that fast track. Somebody else had gotten the nearest wins, and it wasn't enough to change what was happening at the top. They won first place, but about 6 weeks prior, we had the exact same situation. In fact, we had a team who had never, ever played before. They came in and they happened to have this table. It was a big group of people, which, by the way, a big group of people is way more of a handicap than it is an advantage. Just throwing that out there. A large group of people does not mean that that they have an easier time. If anything else, it's more of a challenge. So, they have so much more doubt to deal with every answer. And that's why I bring that up. But the same thing happened. Like it was in the second half. They got a fast track. I think for this one, it might have been question 15, and they were able to hang on up to that point. And sometimes that fast track rattles the other teams, and they're like, oh shit, we got to get these right. We got to do whatever. And that added pressure maybe causes them to play sloppy, and they miss a couple of questions, or they miss something. They make a dumb move. Maybe it's just as simple as a finger slip, because that's what can happen with speed quizzing. And they won as well. And it was amazing. It was awesome. I love it when new folks win, and they get that opportunity, especially when it's their first time out. That is the greatest feeling ever, because that they feel accomplished. They really do. And they might not necessarily even grasp the entire scope of how freaking clever some of the people are that are in this room with them. Because you guys are super clever. You 100% are. I'm not blowing smoke up anybody's ass. I'm being completely honest. Some of our players here just baffle me with how clever they are. It's ridiculous. And I'm looking at a long laundry list of teams. Absolutely. So it's always interesting to see when stuff goes left, when it's just like, boom, it just goes completely off the center and gets crazy at the end. I love that about this game. So I'm just saying, if you've got a big group of people and you come in, that might be the table you want. I'm just saying, I think Nathan Bills truly does have a lucky table. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break right now. When we come back after this, we have for you a conversation that involves team names and the police. Yeah, cops on site. What am I even talking about? You'll find out after this, guys. Don't go too far. Much more 10-second podcast coming up right after this. Hey guys, Bobby Roast Beef here from Jigs and Bigs. If there's one thing I can't stand spending money on, it's on something that's not versatile, something that I can't get a lot of use out of. I want to talk to you about Frost Buddy. What Frost Buddy is it's one of those can coolers. I've seen these before. In fact, I have some that are limited to only fitting one specific size of can, like a standard 12-ounce can. I stumbled onto Frost Buddy, and I was blown away with it. So versatile. Fits standard cans, tall cans, slim cans, and even 12-ounce bottles. And the magic is the insert fits all of these items in various stages within the insert. And when you take that out, you can fit a full 16-ounce tall boy can. In fact, it even doubles down on being versatile with the coffee lid. And on my recent trip to Chickamauga, I had a field day with this thing. I was throwing beer cans in it. I'd have coffee in the morning. On the drive, I was throwing in all different sizes of cans for different canned coffee products to keep me awake on the long drive back. The thing was amazing. So I recommend you check out Frost Buddy. If you're in the market for either a travel cup for your coffee or a can cooler at all, either one of those, check it out. For the money, you cannot go wrong. What I've done is this. In the show notes for this podcast you're listening to right now, if you look there, you'll find a link to Frost Buddy where you can get yours. And not only can you go and get your Frost Buddy there, but you can help out the show as well. Go and visit that link in the show notes to this podcast. Check out a Frost Buddy. Tons of colors, tons of patterns, all kinds of great stuff. And it's a great spot to put your Jigs and Big sticker too. Take it from me, Bobby Roast Beef. You're going to get the most versatility out of this one product, probably out of anything you're ever going to buy, especially for anything that you're drinking. Frost Buddy. It works for me. I'm a happy guy. Alrighty, guys, we are back. More of our good stuff here for Speed Quizzing Smartphone Trivia. It's the 10-second podcast. Let's talk. All right. here is the meat of the show right here. Kind of the hot topic I want to talk about. And I mean, I know I've talked to some of our teams before, and some of my teams have also experienced this because they were there and saw it. And I want to thank them for sharing the information. But man, I have an opinion about this. I really do. And I want to share it with you guys. And you know, maybe it's not the most popular opinion, but I want to throw it out there and share it with you guys. So let me explain to you exactly what went down. This is a number of weeks ago. There was some of you guys might be familiar with my colleague, DJ TJ. He is another local area speed quizzing smartphone trivia host. He does a number of games around the area, and I think he does a fantastic job. Tom is fantastic at hosting this game. He does an excellent job. Now, one of his very busy venues is on Mondays, and it's a local spot in East Longmeadow. And, a lot of those folks will come and play on Tuesday when I'm in East Longmeadow at Craft 32. And it's great because, I mean, some of these folks have been playing my games for years, and I love it. And I'm talking about Barry McCockiner and Bazinga. The Hendos used to play there. Who else is? Oh, and then there's two teams, Mommy Milkers and Free R. Kelly, that frequent my show, but they also play at this other place on Mondays. And it's the team named Free R. Kelly that I want to talk about because that was, man, some shit went down and it had to do everything with that name. So I want to talk about it and say this, guys, that, well, actually, let me give you my opinion after the fact. Let's break down what happened. So, Free R. Kelly had signed in, and this is a team name that's been being used for a long time. This is a common team name. And once you establish a team name, you've been using it, like, you kind of take a little bit of ownership of it. Like, you don't want to change it. You know, sometimes some teams will change up their team name from time to time. But, you know, once you kind of settle on one that works, like a good example is look at Adrian Peterson Daycare LLC. They have had that team name since 2015. And, I mean, that's 8 years ago. And they're just sticking with it. Like, it's what they've done. They've got the same custom buzzer sound for their team name. And, you know, that's a really good example because Adrian Peterson Daycare LLC, while it's comedic as shit, like it's making a joke off of something that's absolutely horrible. But you know what? That's okay. That's okay. Like, when it comes to that, that's if somebody wants to make that joke, my opinion is that that's okay. You know, I don't have to like it. I could be very, very upset by this, but I'm not making that my team name. I'm also not giving them the team name. That's fine. So there was a customer who was at this one game. Free R. Kelly was playing, and I guess I was under the impression at first that this happened during the game, and if it did, my reaction would have been very much like the way I handle like a heckler. You know, I would be shutting that down immediately. This happened after the game. So as Tom was, you know, packing up and handing out the gift cards and all that stuff, as you do at the end of a trivia event, there was a woman, I'll say a woman of a particular age. We'll be nice about it. She had taken a little bit of offense to the team name Free R. Kelly. Totally understand. R. Kelly is a horrible human being. Terrible. Absolutely. But this individual had gone table to table through the entire place asking, "Are you Free R. Kelly? Are you Free R. Kelly?" And, you know, nobody, I guess most people would just answer, "Nope." And, "Oh, do you know who they are?" "Nope." And they would leave it alone. And it got to one section where there were a couple of, I think this might have actually been at the bar. One area of the bar where there were multiple teams playing, and she asked the question, and one of the guys who had just walked over and sat down again was unaware of what was going on and was like, "No, I'm not Free R. Kelly, but yeah, well, yeah, I know who he is. This is this guy over here." This woman then went over to this table and became what I can only describe using the word unhinged. She just lost her mind and then made it her own place to then like verbally attack this nice guy. He's such a nice guy who made a joke, you know, with his team name, and you know it bothered somebody. You're okay to have that opinion. That's fine. That's okay. But, you know, bad jokes get made. It happens. And, you know, it's not your place to go and right that wrong. You know what I'm saying? In a public place. So I guess this got pretty heated pretty quick. And his girlfriend, Mommy Milkers, was quick to jump in and try and defuse the entire situation. But I guess it got pretty crazy. They asked this woman to leave the bar because she was just causing an issue, is what it was. And apparently she had never been here before. The cops showed up. I guess she had left. I don't know if it was before they had gotten there or when they arrived, but that's when she had left. So the cops did show up. It was just kind of crazy. And here's the thing, guys. Like, I treat trivia hosting very much the same way a comedian would treat doing a set for stand-up, except with one major difference. When it comes to team names especially. Now, if there's something that's questionable or something that's mildly offensive or a little bit eyebrow-raising in a question, then that's on the trivia host. You know, they can make the choice not to read it. They can make the choice to change it. They can make the choice to skip it. There's a bunch of things that they can do. They have to make a decision. When it comes to team names here, we have the ability to change somebody's team name if we want, but that's not our goddamn job. That's what I'm saying. It's the teams that create their own names, and there's a lot there's like a huge part in bar trivia that is making a bad joke out of a team name. So you'll have a team that's got like the Free R. Kelly, or you'll have a team that will say like Adrian Peterson Daycare LLC. A terrible situation. They made a joke, and it's okay. That is okay. They made a joke. You don't have to like it. You might not think it's funny, but there are some people who might. And it's okay. It's all right. They did this, Helen Keller's Tight Pants. I mean, you want to talk about a classic? Holy cow. They have been doing that team name since 2014. When I first started hosting trivia. They have 9 years, Helen Keller's Tight Pants, and they played recently in Nathan Bill's. They don't play out with me that often. You know, life changed a lot in 9 years, but they came out and they kicked ass. They did. So when it comes to team names, guys, and I do understand that, like, she didn't go to the host and complain, and I'll tell you what, that would have been a whole other situation. I would have 100% been very vocal in shutting that down quickly. Had I been the host and had I been approached by somebody complaining about a team name, because that's not on me. It's not on me to police that. So, you know, when it comes to team names, like, you know, I guess, you know, you do take somewhat of a risk when you're creating a team name. Just, you know, kind of be aware of that. You're kind of, you know, putting yourself a little bit out there. That's not to say that you should be afraid of naming your team whatever the hell you want. You know, it's part of the experience, is the tongue-in-cheek. Lots of times these are a little bit dirty, you know, and that's why I say, like, trivia nights aren't really for young kids. They're just not. There's plenty of people who bring kids to trivia, and sometimes, you know, most of the time it's not a problem whatsoever, because the host, a professional host, will adjust for the situation. I'll give you a perfect example. There's a team that plays regularly at a couple of different venues that I've been at through a lot of years. One guy, Chad, Shit Apples is his team's name. Shit Apples. And it's a reference from a television show, Trailer Park Boys. And his buzzer sound is actually the what do you call it? It's actually the sound clip of that town's, I think, I don't know if it's the sheriff, but it's a police officer. And he goes, she's going to be a shit apple just like the rest of your family. Have fun in jail, Rick. And the first time that he had used that name, there happened to be a kid at one of these tables. And I'm like, you know, hey, it is what it is. And I would just, on my own, I guess my own decision making, I changed it and referred to him as Shapples. It still showed up on the screen, you know, on the scoreboard as Shit Apples, but I just called him Shapples just to kind of pacify that. And nobody noticed a damn thing. It was fine, but that was on me. I was like, you brought a little kid out for dinner, probably a little bit too late, and you're in the bar area, which doesn't make any sense. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. In fact, I happen to actually have a conversation with the manager that was on that night. And I said, hey, I noticed this. And I just went and flew with it. But I go, could you guys just either not seat any families unless they're actively playing trivia? Because that happens too. If they're not actively playing trivia, don't, throw like an odd sort of obstacle in there to work around. Just seat them in another section if you can. And I was told by this manager, and I was really surprised. She says to me, don't change your game at all. She says, this establishment is not a family restaurant. She goes, we are a bar. We're a whiskey bar, and the fact that people come in here with kids is crazy. So you do your game. Don't worry about whatever you say. And if somebody has an issue, I will explain that we don't have placemats and crayons on the tables for a reason. And I was blown away with that. I was refreshed, actually. It felt really nice to hear that kind of support. And again, I'm not looking to be like the dirty trivia host or something. I do those games periodically, and it's a lot of fun. But, it's just one of those things that, team names, that may be a little bit offensive or a little poor taste, that kind of comes with it. Part of the team name thing is the idea is when somebody says that, they're thinking, oh yeah, I want to make people cringe a little bit. People like to do this with headlines and stuff, and it's just been going on forever. So I understand that some of these things may be sensitive for folks. Folks will carry a strong opinion, and they'll get, a little uneasy about it, and that's fine. But that is not your position to go and tell somebody off in an establishment, what you think. You know what I mean? It's like you're more likely than not, you're going to be removed because that's just not the right way to act. You can be upset. If you really had a problem about it, the right thing to do would just been to talk to the manager about it. Karen.
Just talk to the damn manager.
I was very upset by that team name. It ruined my pizza.
You know what I mean? If you got to do it, just do it. It is what it is. Anyway, guys, let's talk about a little something that is going to be buried in this show and every show going forward. I've got a little bit of a bonus word or a bonus phrase for every week. So this will be, just as a heads up, this bonus word that I'm going to give you is going to be good for the week of June the 5th. The week of June 5th, this bonus will get you 25 bonus points if you give me this bonus word before round one starts. The rules are just like the birthday bonus. In fact, if you have a birthday bonus, if you use this bonus word, you can now make that a 50-point bonus. I'm just throwing that out there, guys. Listen to the show. It is what it is. So the bonus word for the week of did I say January or it's June 5th? June 5th, the week of June 5th. The bonus word is wombat poop. Wombat poop is the bonus word for the week of June 5th. All that week, you can get an extra 25 points. It's not your birthday? Cool. Use that. You got 25 points. It is your birthday. Air is a double gift. Use that, and you get your 25-point bonus for your birthday as well. We'll talk about the birthday bonus and what that's all about in a little while. But or in a few episodes. We'll get to that. But yeah, it's got to be before first round starts because I'm not going to go and add these after any fast tracks or anything like that. It's not going to be retroactive. It's got to be before round one starts, just like the birthday bonus. So, and if you miss it, heads up, because I know people are going to ask. Sometimes if people can't do a birthday bonus the week of their birthday, I'll allow it for the following week. That doesn't fly with this. You got to give me that week's bonus word or phrase. So wombat poop is the bonus. Go ahead, get your extra points. You guys got it. Now, something I would like from all of you guys. Actually, a couple of things. First and foremost, I appreciate you guys, the regulars that show up to my trivia events, the folks that are currently listening to this podcast, and everybody who's supported me, and especially all the clients who've booked me for their private events. Guys, I can't thank you enough. I appreciate you so much. You help this guy basically spoil his wife and keep his family fully functioning and everything. I appreciate you guys so much. It does truly mean the world to me. You are truly helping a local business when you come out to my trivia nights. You're actually, when you do that, you're helping two local businesses. Let's be honest. It's like a powerhouse move. Yeah, and I truly do appreciate that. But what I'm looking for from you guys is just to suggest this show or my trivia nights to a friend of yours. If you have a good time, share the wealth. Let folks know about it, to come out either if you're playing and you're maybe a small team, add a few more members, or have them come out and play up against you and kind of run some internal stuff, some just competition, like independently, one team versus another, stuff like that. I would love to see new faces and stuff, and I also definitely want to see more listeners to this show. If you're listening to the show, you've never played one of my events, go to BobbyRoastBeef.com and check out my appearances page. All of my events are listed there that I've got going on. You can also follow me on Instagram because I promote, generally speaking, all of the events for that coming week, and then in each individual day, I'll make a mention of that day's show, where I'll be. So come on out. All of these shows are free to play. As long as you're a customer of the establishment, you've got a tab running. Awesome. You're good to go. So it's not like it's a pay to play situation. You got prizes at every single one of these. You're generally winning gift cards to the establishment where we are. And, it's pretty freaking awesome. So do me a favor and, make a suggestion. Also, if you could rate this show on the podcast platform that you're listening to. So if you're on Spotify, you can give me a star rating over there, and I would really appreciate that. Just go ahead and rate it, whatever you like, whatever you feel. I'm not even asking you for a 5-star review, anything like that. Just whatever it is. On Apple Podcasts, you can give a star rating, but you can also leave a review. So if you care to do so, I would 100% appreciate that there too. Again, you would be helping me out in a huge, huge way. With that about wraps up this show right here. I do want to give a little bit of promo for next week's show, or not next week's show, the podcast, next week's schedule for events. So the week of June 5th, first off, it's the first week, of June, for all these events. We have, it is LGBTQ plus month. So go ahead and come out and enjoy some shows, and play to your heart's content. But June 5th to the 9th, we have a ton going on. So first off, Monday, we're at Rumble Seat as normal. Coming out Monday nights, we're at Rumble Seat. We're at Tuesday, we're at Craft 32 in East Longmeadow. Now, Craft 32 is going to be changing their name shortly. In fact, I'm impressed with you guys that they have already changed their Instagram to represent the new branding of East Village Tavern, but Craft 32 is still what's on the sign right now. So once the sign changes, that's when I'm going to make the switch. But Tuesday nights, Craft 32, East Longmeadow, you can't miss it. Wednesday nights, it's Nathan Bill's. What else can I say? Maybe you can strategize and get there early and get that lucky table. I don't know. Maybe it'll work out for you. Maybe you'll prove me wrong. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the formula is. I think there's a lucky table there. And then Thursday's an interesting one. Now, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're talking 7 p.m. games. Thursday, we have 2 games happening. Thursday night at 6 p.m., 6 to 8, I'm at Gateway City Arts. And Gateway City Arts is a fantastic establishment for, live concerts, things like that. It's great. They have lots of events going, but they have multiple sort of venues in there. And in one of them, the Divine Theater, you can come out and play speed quizzing there, 6 to 8 p.m. Now, this is a monthly event, so this will be Thursday, June 8th. Come on out, check it out. What's new about this, and we've been having some fun over there. These are really intimate games, but they're a lot of fun. Straight up general knowledge with a music round in there, and trust me, you're going to love it. On this specific date is when we're kicking off a sponsorship with Canna Provisions. So if you are a fan of, cannabis products and you would maybe like the ability to win maybe either gift cards or product or I don't know exactly. I'm a little bit in the dark when it comes to this. I only know that Canna Provisions is now a sponsor for the Thursday event. So this is a good opportunity to win some stuff, and it could be great. So that's from 6 to 8. And then this is one of our late night shows shows at in Northampton at the Deck. At 9 o'clock, we're doing a 9 to 11 at the either. I'm not sure if we'll be outside at the Deck or we'll be inside at Platform. It's kind of going to be dependent on weather, I think, at that time. But we will be outside. What am I saying? We will be in Northampton 9 to 11 with another amazing game that you're not going to want to miss out. I think for Gateway City Arts, I'm going to do a greatest hits music round, and then for the 9 p.m. game, I'm going to do that week's theme. So it'll be boy bands. It'll be the boy bands one will be later in the evening, and the earlier one will be one of the rando ones like I'm doing for this. And then Friday I'm at Casa de Lisa in Feeding Hills, the Feeding Hills neighborhood of Agawam. Come on out there, check it out. It's a great time. The menu's fantastic. I really love it. They're great folks over there. Friday nights are a special night kind of game because oftentimes it kind of BS a little bit, and it's actually after this podcast drops. So you could hear some interesting stuff, some fun stuff. Now, Casa de Lisa did give me a little heads up on some dates that they are not going to be open for for a handful of reasons, or where there are private parties that are booked there where there's not going to be any trivia. One of them is this Friday, June 2nd, which works out perfectly because I have a wedding that night. So there is no trivia on June the 2nd. June 16th is a date where there is no trivia as well. So we'll be there on the 9th. We will not be there on the 16th. We have one date in July. Again, I have a wedding on this date. So this July date is the 14th. So it works out perfectly. And then they are on vacation in August, the 11th and the 18th. So just as a heads up, as always, I'm going to enter all of these dates into I'm going to edit my schedule over at BobbyRoastBeef.com to reflect these dates where there is no trivia. But this will play out perfectly. It'll work out, I think, great for everybody. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you listening. I really do. I definitely appreciate everybody who's been coming out to the events. You guys are absolutely amazing. You're the best freaking group of friends and fans I could ever ask for. So go ahead, have yourselves a fantastic week, everybody. I'm looking forward to seeing you at a game. Remember this week of June the 5th. As we get into it, wombat poop is your bonus word. So don't forget that. Write it down. Set a reminder on your phone so that when you're at the game, you get a reminder about the buzzword. That's a great idea for you. Thanks once again, everybody. We'll see you next time we see you with more good stuff here on the 10 Second Podcast. I am Bobby Roast Beef. A peace.